Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. There's another paid request, this time from Chris Rogers, who wanted me to do a commentary on The Last Boy Scout, which I am a big fan of the movie. I think it's one of Bruce Willis's best films, one of his more underrated films, because no one really talks about the movie anymore, and apparently almost everybody who worked on the film hated working on the movie. They hate the final product. When it came out, it didn't do the best at the box office. It might have done serviceable, but not die-hard type of numbers. No special features, because again, everyone who worked on it, or at least over 90% of them, disliked the film itself. They disliked working with each other, which I'll get into that in a bit. But let's get into it. 3, 2, 1. Oh, by the way, if anyone wants to request anything, topic, reaction, review, re-review, or even a commentary or whatever, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. So, 3, 2, 1, pressing play. Came out, I want to say, in the wintertime of 91. Forgive me if I'm wrong on that. Which maybe would have been a bigger hit if it was a summer film, summer release, if that was the case. Yeah, I'm not 100% for certain. But 91, I mean, that was a year of Terminator 2, among other movies. And you had a lot of people working on this. This was people making it thought to be a big blockbuster hit. You got Bruce Willis after Die Hard and Die Hard 2. You got up-and-coming comedian Damon Wayans. You got Tony Scott. This is right after he did films like Top Gun and Beverly Hills Cop 2. You got Joel Silver. Great night for football. I always enjoyed this song. I think if somehow, if you're able to find the work print, which I never have been, I would like to give it a look, because I love work prints. If the work print of this film's out there, please let me know. I would love to give it a watch. But for what I understand, the original work print, this was, oh, you're ready for some football? You know, the regular Monday Night Football. But they're like, hey, maybe they couldn't get the rights to it, or like, just do something new, which works. I remember when I first had a channel, before I even had the Ramboraf username, I would do music videos and tributes. I remember doing a music video to this film with this song, because I've always enjoyed this. I think it's fun. I think it's funny. I think the action scenes are pretty solid. I think it's pretty damn entertaining in its dialogue. I know that Shane Black, who wrote the film, who worked on Lethal Weapon, he's not a fan of the movie. He thought the script was better. Tony Scott said the original script was better. Tony Scott hated working with Joel Silver. He hated working with Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis and Damon Wayans hated working with each other, even though they're supposed to play eventual buddies in this. Like Bruce Willis and Damon Wayans, they just hated each other. And you have 3 editors, like Mark Goldblatt. That's the guy who directed The Punisher in 1989, worked on editing and I think Rambo 2, Predator 2. Stuart Baird, he would go on to direct films like, I think, U.S. Marshals, and I want to say Star Trek Nemesis. Shane Black. Again, he wrote the film, and this got a lot of money paid for the script. And I think before that, a guy named Joe Esterhaus had the highest paying script, and then he got pissed, and then he wrote another script, because he wanted to be the guy that had the highest paid script for it. But I always thought this had a different mood to it. It had a different, nastier mood, and that was kind of interesting with the dialogue. Like, this is the type of dialogue you would not hear today. And apparently the guys who made the Doom 2016 video game, you can look this up. The people who made the Doom 2016 video game, the creators of that game, said this was an inspiration for their meta, like, narrative sense of humor, which I thought was interesting. Now, of course, Billy Cole here, if he looks familiar, that is Billy Blanks. Yes, Billy Blanks, who would go to Tybo fame, instructional video Tybo. but he was in action films as well. He was with Roddy Piper in a few movies. I forgot what they were called now. But he did 2 films with Roddy Piper. Tough and Deadly was one, and Back in Action was the other. And I like both. I like Tough and Deadly a little bit more. That'd be nice to have a Blu-ray of those 2 films, even if it's like a double pack. Billy Blanks is not a great actor, but he's a pretty damn decent martial artist. Roddy Piper carried those 2 films a lot, in my opinion, especially Tough and Deadly. Now we're at Dick Butkus, the Bears. And from what I understand, I don't know if it's right on the trivia. It's IMDb trivia, so they could be full of shit. But apparently the original line before Billy Cole kills himself was, "I'm going to Disneyland." Because that's what a lot of football players, or just when they win basketball, football. But I guess maybe Shane Black's like, let me take that with a dark turn. I could see why that was changed, if that was the case. I like the line in this better. Ain't life a bitch? To me, that actually... Yeah, the Disneyland line would have... Okay, that's a knock on when people say if they win, but there's a turn on its side and it's a bleaker ending for this person. But Ain't Life a Bitch just fits better. It doesn't seem... It seems less goofy, and... This one guy here, who's we found out to be our main villain, I believe his name is Noble Willingham. He was one of the mainstays in Chuck Norris's TV show Walker Texas Ranger. He was the guy we saw with the cowboy hat. He was also, I believe, in Blind Fury. Go get Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee's dead. Then go get his brother. And of course, this is directed by the great late Tony Scott. And I miss Tony Scott. He would easily be in my top 10 favorite directors. I mean, if I looked at his filmography, films of his I enjoy, Top Gun, Beverly Hills Cop 2, Days of Thunder, this film, True Romance, Crimson Tide, I Don't Mind the Fan, Enemy of the State, Man on Fire, Deja Vu, Take Your Pill 123, Unstoppable. And that was 2010. That was his last film. The Hunger, I'm not a fan of. Revenge, I'm not a fan of. Spy Game was forgettable. Domino, I was not a fan of. But for the most part, like a good chunk of his movies, and he's got a good look and style and color grading. I don't know if that's the way to put it. Like, his films have a certain look, including this. Like, you see this blue. It's very blue. But it doesn't seem fake like a filter, like nowadays. And then this is just... I would just... To be in the theater the first time watching this, would you expect a guy to pull a fucking gun out of his pocket and start shooting people on a fucking football field? Like, just to... I wish I could go back in time and see this in the theater without knowing anything about it. And be like, what the fuck's going on? And then where he says, ain't life a bitch? I'm like, what the fuck? Ain't doing any more Tybo after that. Tybo the bullet out of your head. And also, Bruce Willis' character I find very interesting. I know I knock on Bruce Willis nowadays because I think he's lazy. He's coming out with like 2 films a year, 3 films a year. You tell he's off, he's lazy. At this point, I seriously do not know if there's something wrong with his body and mind. That's not a joke. I don't know if there's something wrong with him. He's maybe not telling people, but he acts weird. He's just off in his acting. You know, I keep saying lazy, but I'm like, is it something else? I don't know. And people say, oh, this is just him playing John McClane again. I don't even know if I would say he's playing John McClane in this. It's much more, even more of a cynical person. I think that's kind of the funny thing about this character. He's so cynical. He's like, that's why I like what Shane Black's script, and whether the rewrites were, because apparently Tony Scott, he did not like working with Joel Silver and Bruce Willis because they would want to change around the script, and Tony Scott wanted to keep the Shane Black script. I don't know what was changed, what wasn't changed. I don't know. I know it says here that the original script was a darker film, a darker tone with more violence. The entire second half of the script was completely different. There was more focus on the two of the main villains. Milo, the Taylor Negron character, not only was he a hitman, but he was also a guy who directed snuff films, in which they would kidnap women and kill them and film it. He kills an entire family who accidentally showed up near the place where a meeting between him and someone else took place. Apparently there's a big boat chase scene with Joe and Jimmy trying to escape from Milo and his men. A shootout and fight scene between Joe and Marcone's men in Joe's house. Another shootout in Marcone's mansion in which Joe sneaks in after killing several guards. Joe and Jimmy saving Joe's wife Sarah from being killed with a chainsaw in one of Milo's snuff films. Different final showdown between Joe and Milo, which took place outside Joe's office after he chases and tries to shoot Joe while on foot. Milo gets killed by Sarah, who shoots him with Joe's gun. I like the way Milo dies in this film more. The snuff stuff, on one hand, I wonder if maybe they felt that was just too much for a buddy action film. I don't know. I mean, some of that I would like to see because I'm a sucker for action. I don't know if that would be too much for an audience, especially an audience in '91. I don't know. But I love the film that we got this piece of dialogue. I thought it was a nice sort of, nobody likes you. Everybody hates you. You don't lose. Smile, you fuck. Just something about it, it's unique. There's not many action films that had that type of stuff where the hero is talking to himself like that. Maybe it's stuff like this that the creators of the Doom 2016, they said their narrative style sense of humor was like that. And here we have Damon Wayans, who, of course, of the Wayans family, Marlon, Sean, Keenan Ivory Wayans. This is around the time he was doing films like Mo Money, In Living Color, the TV show, and other, his other family would do films. Like Keenan Ivory Wayans, he was doing films with Steven Seagal after this, like The Glimmer Man. He did A Low Down Dirty Shame, which is a fun movie. So, Most Wanted. Which actually, Keenan Ivory Wayans, I like those films he was in. I thought this is a pretty satisfying moment. Breaking this asshole's nose that almost made this girl drown. Best arm in the National League. Remember that, you fat son bitch. Like I said, there's an edge to this. And apparently the original script was edgier. But I still feel the edge with this movie, with the dialogue and the way Bruce Willis talks with the wife. It is very unique and interesting. I think people... That's what I mean. If people thought this was too nasty, if you threw in the snuff stuff, man, they would hate the movie even more. But I love the lighting that Tony Scott has in his films. And that's the thing, is back in the day, they had to do it in camera. Not you go with a computer and you do it. Just even when doing that, sometimes it can work, but a lot of times it comes off artificially. Because it is artificial. But here, I mean, it's natural. Whether that blue lighting and the football field here, with the shadows on the characters. Tony Scott made a lot of good-looking movies. And, I like Ridley Scott, but I was, Alien, love Alien, Black Rain, G.I. Jane, but I was always more for Tony Scott. She was like, fucking goddamn raccoon. Thought she was a bird, I almost shot her twice. And this is when, of course, Bruce Willis finds out that his wife's been cheating on him. Number one, showcases that he's a bit of a detective, and he actually knows a bit of what he's doing by seeing the toilet seat up. Which is weird, because I never leave the toilet seat up, so I would have been fine. See, if I was cheating with his wife, I would have been fine, because I would put the toilet seat down, because I always have the toilet seat down. Just always have. So I would have been fine, so I should have been cheating with her. She should have been cheating with me. I didn't showcase that he's a little bit detective. He knows what he's doing. He's not an idiot. He's a cynical. He's an asshole, but he's not an idiot. And his buddy, who is the one doing the cheating, is Bruce Medill. Bruce Medill, he had the line, you know, my finger steel, how many fingers I would cut off the fucker. And Bruce was going to say a little bit when Bruce Medill comes out. Bruce Medill, he was Jean-Claude Van Damme's boss in Time Cop. He's been in other stuff too. He had a bit role in Cliffhanger. He's one of the guys that gets shot on the airplane. And then they put the suitcases from one plane to another. And Bruce Medill has been in a lot of other stuff. Animal House. Way back in the day, Animal House. But I remember him the most as the boss in Time Cop. Yeah, there he is. Sorry, I'm just... On your fingers, yeah, how was my wife? It's this other line that's coming up. It just happened, man, right? It could happen to anybody. It was accident, right? You tripped, slipped on the floor, accidentally stuck your dick in my wife. Oops, I'm sorry, Mrs. AJ. This is my week. Bruce Willis does a better job than I can. That's for me, like, that's it. I think it's a pretty damn funny script. It still has that edgy, dangerous tone of the first Lethal Weapon. That's for me. I think this is a bit of an edgier film compared to, say, the Die Hard films. And I love the first 4 Die Hard films. Fifth one, not so much. I thought there's always an interesting idea, head or gut. He committed, you know, gut hit him in the gut. That's true, $500 is $500. I mean, he can't change anything now. And that kind of right there showcases that the marriage is on the rocks, so to speak. And Corey, that is Halle Berry. A very young, beautiful Halle Berry. Which, from what I understand, a few years later, I don't know if this is true, apparently she was going to be one of the leads in Broken Arrow, like the park ranger. But someone apparently said, no, there are no black female park rangers. I mean, in the Broken Arrow is a female, but there's no black park rangers. I don't know if that's true. If it is, it's horseshit. And it's bullshit. And whoever said that should be fired. But then she was in Executive Decision soon after that, which wasn't that good of a movie. But I love Broken Arrow. At least she did cry out for Joe. She didn't cry out for the other guy's name. So even a little bit like that, I like that. You know, if she yelled out the other guy's name, you'd be like, ah, wow, she really is a bitch. But she yelled out for Joe, and maybe there's still a tiny semblance of care that she feels about him. Now, this is a time in Tony Scott's career that I think he did this film honestly because maybe he liked the Shane Black script, the original script. I think also a part of it was to have a hit. Because you can do your personal projects, but there are times that people like, okay, I'll be more leaning towards this because if it's a box office hit, even if you're not big on the film, proud of the film, at least that'll give you a bit more leeway to do 2 or 3 more films, whether they're a hit or a flop. Yeah, this would not fly today, but I love it. Like the fact that she's like, I want you to say I'm a lying bitch, Joe. I want you to spit on my face. So he's like, you want me to spit on your face? And then later on, the way that's played off at the end as a term of endearment of, you're a lying bitch. If someone wasn't here, I'd spit in your face. That's what I mean. Like, it's a pretty damn interesting script. And yes, it has shorts on because it's Texas. It's hot as fucking hell. But I was talking with Tony Scott. His last 2 films didn't do well. Like, Top Gun, Beverly Hills Cop 2, 1-2 punch of hits. Then he did Revenge and Days of Thunder. Revenge didn't do anything. Which I understand because I'm not a fan of that movie. I thought it sucked. Days of Thunder I do like, but it wasn't... I would say it was deemed maybe a disappointment. Maybe not a flop, but a disappointment considering they're hoping for a big hit in the terms of Top Gun. It wasn't that big of a hit. Again, I'm not saying it was a flop, but it was disappointment, so maybe that's why, okay, let me do this film. But it wasn't until True Romance where he had a hit again, and then he had Crimson Tide, and so forth. And yeah, this is Halle Berry. Interesting enough, Halle Berry would work with Bruce Willis again in this crappy film called Perfect Stranger. I know it has nothing to do with Perfect Strangers. The TV show is a different movie. Perfect Stranger. But I mean, this is a time of action films where you could be R-rated. In fact, most people prefer that it was R-rated. You had your nudity, we saw a little bit before. You had your swearing, you had your cuss words, you had your blood squibs. This was the action film norm. You felt like an adult watching this because these action films were for adults. That's Eddie Griffin, I believe. Very young Eddie Griffin. Who would be in a lot of stuff afterward. Well, I wouldn't say a lot of stuff, but be in some stuff. I don't know if all this is Halle Berry because it keeps cutting from like her face to the body and then face to the body. So it might be a body double. I don't know. Hey, you're nobody. No, he's not. I got the blur right there. The other guy's nobody. But I'm no... Shh, don't tell anyone. You can protect a cup of piss. And then he shoves him. I'll go get my cup of piss. That's why, to this day, I still remember dialogue. Because it's memorable and there's attitude. Sincere attitude, not fake, phony farce of an attitude. Water's wet, sky's blue, who gives a fuck? Yo, Satan Claus is out there, be prepared. That's my motto, be prepared. I'm the Book of Mormon, what do you think? But yeah, this is, like I said, 1991. I mean, I mentioned Terminator 2. I believe it was the same year as Double Impact, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Showdown Little Tokyo, Brandon Lee and Dolph Lundgren. I believe Stone Cold with Brian Bosworth. And like, you look at those next couple years, Hard Target, Cliffhanger, Demolition Man, True Lies, Speed. It's weird, if you look at like the first 4 years of each decade, they have a semblance of the past. Like, you look at from 1980 to 1984, there are some remnants of the disco 70s era. I mean, like Prom Night, 1980. And this, the first couple years, still had that like 80s feel with 90s technology. And that's why I think the early 90s is one of the best eras for action films. I mean, the 80s are great, but I think the early 90s is one of the best eras for action films. I really do. Real quick light, I love the lighting. Spill my warm cup of piss. But all the neon lighting and like the blue off of Bruce Willis's face. Again, there's a nice... Like, this is a 1991 film, but it does have that 80s... Like, black... Like, think of Ridley Scott, like Black Rain. Like, oh, that type of feel and look to it. But yeah, you look at the early 90s, what do you have? I mentioned, Terminator 2. But I mean, all the films, Speed, Hard Target, Cliffhanger, the beginnings of Van Damme, Lionheart, Universal Soldier, I Come in Peace, Cliffhanger, Demolition Man, Total Recall, Die Hard 2, Die Hard with a Vengeance, 95, Speed, 94, True Lies, 94. And underrated ones like The Adventures of Ford Fairlane and sadly, I was going to say they don't make movies like this anymore. And, like, this kind of edgier stuff with a budget, they still kind of don't make this kind of action film anymore. But for a film that is hated so much by the people who made it, part of me just wants to sit down with them and go, why do you hate this film so much? What is so bad about this? Obviously, if you had a bad time, maybe when you're watching the film, you just remember the bad times. Some assistant director says here that there was an overabundance of alpha males on the project. Bruce was at the height of his stardom. That's how he was able to get projects like Hudson Hawk off the ground. Which, I like Hudson Hawk, but that was a notable flop that people made fun of a lot. Tony Scott. I didn't even know, like, Days of Thunder didn't do the best, but they still remember Top Gun and Beverly Hills Cop 2. Joel Silver producing some of the Die Hard stuff and other action films his name was attached to. Same with Shane Black. It was a lot of egos. Apparently it was a lot of egos, and they saw different movies. I don't know. I mean, Bruce Willis, we've heard throughout the years, he's not the easiest guy to work with. Whether you talk to Kevin Smith, or you talk to the guy who directed Mercury Rising, you talk to... Like, apparently a lot of directors who had their own troubles working with Bruce Willis. I mean, it seems like some people, like Tarantino, M. Night Shyamalan, maybe John McTiernan, they worked fine with Bruce Willis, but others... I didn't like Tony Scott in this film. The Rowdy Harrington, who did Striking Distance. Mercury Rising, I guess it wasn't really the director, but like some of the actors seemed like, oh, he seemed like a dick. I don't know what to say. Like Bruce Willis, I like him as an actor. Nowadays, yeah, I don't know if there's anything wrong with him or he's just lazy. And it seems like throughout the years he's been an asshole a lot, which is a shame. Well, yeah, I don't remember many heroes doing uh, how fat is she jokes. Right in the throat. Again, like a down and dirty, cynical, kill you however you can get it. Like when he breaks the guy's nose and shoves the nose into the guy's brain. That's much later on. You're like, holy shit. This is where she gets, Halle Berry gets blasted away. Of course, Halle Berry would go on to be in Catwoman, Kidnap, which I enjoyed. I saw that again recently. Still rather enjoyed. She was in the John Wick 3 fairly recently. And it's pretty violent too, the way she gets it. I wouldn't be surprised if that was cut down a bit by the MPAA, because they were just harsh on action and horror films in the late 80s, early 90s. That's why I love this shot, that two gun pistol bang bang, which wasn't typical in American movies for a hero to shoot with two guns. But maybe some people were seeing like John Woo, what he was doing with the killer and stuff overseas. Because like this is before Hard Boiled. That was 92. But there were other films. Granted, he didn't get to do a lot with the two guns, but you know, there's a nice shot and then headshot coming here. Boom. I'm sure the MPA let that go since some of it was in shadow, but you're still able to see the blood fly out. And the fact that this guy was getting his damn legs crushed. Like the Shane Black, I'm one of the guys that actually liked The Nice Guys. I know not everybody did, that's fine. I liked it for what it was. I'm sorry, Shane Black, this is better than The Nice Guys. I like The Nice Guys, but this is a better buddy movie. It's a better action movie. I think it's a funnier movie. I think the script of the film, release version, is better. Definitely a more satisfying ending. And again, I like The Nice Guys, but this one is a favorite of mine. Yeah, the $650 pants. Do you get a TV with them? You wear them? Apparently this was dialogue that was written for Lethal Weapon, but it was cut out. I think they filmed it, like Danny Glover talking to one of his kids. But it was cut, so they put it in this. They don't have like a TV in them or something? I am very old. I guess with them now liking each other, it actually works well with their animosity between each other at the beginning. But I did think eventually they worked well together, so is the fact that they hated working with. But again, that's why I never expected a special edition of this film. Because who would talk about it? Tony Scott would never have wanted to talk about it. Now he's passed away. Bruce Willis never does interviews. He didn't do an interview when they did that Die Hard kind of documentary where on that Blu-ray set of the Die Hard films. Again, Bruce Willis doesn't talk about his movie. Damon Wayans hated working on the film. And it's funny, Damon Wayans would go on to do a Lethal Weapon TV show, speaking of Lethal Weapon, which lasted, what, 3 seasons or so? 2 or 3 seasons? Apparently even the composer, Michael Kamen, hated the film. And the only reason he did it because he had a friendship with Bruce Willis and a friendship with Joel Silver. I mean, why is this film so hated? I don't understand. Yeah, I just don't understand it. Apparently, Tony Scott hated working with producer Joel Silver so much that in the next film, True Romance, there was a movie producer, a cocaine user and dealer, and Tony Scott wanted the guy to look and act like Joel Silver. Apparently. And that's what the trivia says, because there's no making of material on this. In the New Yorker profile, Joel Silver said this was one of the three worst experiences of his life making the film. Again, why? Go into detail. With this film, Shane Black became the first writer to sell a spec script for $1 million. He was offered $2.25 million by Terrical Pictures, went with Warner Bros. For the lower $1.75 million so that he could work with Joel Silver, who had produced Lethal Weapon. And then Terrical purchased a screenplay from Joel Esterhaus, Basic Instinct, for $3 million. You're a lot of fun. Fuck you. I'm trying to break the ice. I like ice. And he used the word that rhymes with tag, with an F in front of it. Again, imagine having your lead hero say that kind of dialogue. In today's age, you would be lynched from the PC mob. But this was just a cynical, don't give a fuck status of a character. Sorry, now I'm just watching the film. It's been a while since I've seen this, though. It's been quite a while. I can't remember how I first saw this, like what year. I never remember those things, or very rarely. I do know I saw it on VHS tape back in the day, when you actually had VHS tapes. And I don't think we bought the tape. It was one of those where back in the day we lived on a farm in the middle of nowhere. You had two VCRs because you would rent it from the video store, tape it onto a blank tape, and then on that blank tape it'd be maybe 3, maybe 4 movies on a tape. So you could watch as many times as you want without constantly going back to the store to rent it. Never sold them. Just, own personal copies. And did that for a lot of movies back in the day. But then when DVDs started coming out, a lot of them went bye-bye. Just like, wow, to buy DVDs and build up the collection, and then of course you went to Blu-ray. Your show, Ace. Apparently that's a line in the Monster Squad, which Shane Black had a hand in writing. I'm trying to remember where that was in the Monster Squad, but apparently Your Show, Ace is in the Monster Squad. It's been a while since I've seen the Monster Squad, so I'm trying to remember. But yeah, just watch it again, marveling the cinematography. Which, does this say who the cinematography was in this movie? Let's see. Michael Kamen did the music. I thought he did a decent job on the music. Like I said, the editors. Mark Goldblatt, I mentioned, one of the editors. He directed Dead Heat with Treat Williams, The Punisher with Dolph Lundgren in 1989. Those are only 2 films he directed, but he helped edit Rambo 2. He helped edit... he worked with James Cameron a few times. I think he helped edit Terminator 2. Like Predator 2. Let's see. Ward Russell, the DP. Ward Russell. Worked with Tony Scott. Did a very nice looking movie. I forget what kind of hat that is Damon Wayans wears. It reminds me of the one Eddie Murphy wears in The Golden Child, which is actually my personal favorite comedy, The Golden Child. It's not a beret. It's, I forget what kind of hat that is. It's just a drudge stash. But she knew he would go into that stash, so she hid it there. Yeah, Shane Black and Tony Scott both said years later the original script was far better than the final film. I mean, more action? Sure, I'd be up for more action. Again, I'm not sure about the snuff film stuff, because it would be kind of weird having this banter between characters, but then you're dealing with snuff films. That'd be very almost awkward, or that'd be a tight, like 8mm dealt with snuff films, but that was a very serious, darkly serious movie. Again, I don't know if that can work in a buddy cop film. It'd have to take someone talented. I would be curious about it. Apparently other people were up for the role that Bruce Willis was playing. Apparently one of the choices was Jack Nicholson. You know what? In a way, if Jack Nicholson played this role that Bruce Willis plays, I wouldn't. Bruce Willis does a really good job in this. But that would be fascinating, because Jack Nicholson has never done this kind of movie. Throughout all the years, I can't think of anything Jack Nicholson has done like an action movie of that style and caliber. I would like to have seen that. I really would like to have seen that. Again, I don't know if this would be better, but that would have been an interesting... That'd be interesting to see, I'll say that. I mean, Bruce Willis did a good job, but in Jack Nicholson, I could see him being the cynical type of guy. I kind of would like to see that alternate world where Jack Nicholson starred in The Last Boy Scout. Oh, this is when him getting the idea that there was a car bomb. Maybe occur again. And again, the showcase that he's not a bad detective. Here we have C4. Is it C4? I believe it's C4. Yeah. Now, I do know later on, for what I understand with C4, YouTube, feel free to educate me, but C4 I don't think explodes if you actually shoot it. You actually have to have the wires in the charge. So like Bruce Willis puts in the trunk here. From what I understand, you cannot blow it up if you just shoot it. If I'm wrong, feel free to educate me, but I'm like, it's a movie. I let it go. I'm fuckface. He's asshole. Sorry, I'm waiting for the other line, which Damon Wayans says, "We didn't beat up by the inventor of Scrabble." I think that's the line. Ooh, right in the clincher. Right in the clincher. And the chocolate balls. Beat up by the inventor of Scrabble. I did another interesting thing is that the hero does get beaten up. He gets beaten up. He gets bloodied. We saw him get beaten up earlier. He's getting beaten up here. We'll see that a bit more later. I want to hear you scream. Play rap music. Says me if the guys who created Doom 2016, if that's the type of humor they're talking about, I never played Doom 2016. I've seen people play it. Yeah, here we go. Again, I don't think C4 explodes if you shoot it, but it makes for a fun scene. And this idea here of having to roll around out of the way. Simple but effective. And a real car. Nowadays it'd be CGI car or CGI fire or CGI additions that would make the film look cartoony even if it isn't cartoony. Hell of a factory recall. Apparently, the word fuck is used 102 times in the movie. Marty Stratton and Hugo Martin, creators of Doom 2016, have largely credited Shane Black's script with inspiring the self-aware humor and style of the game's narrative. Now, Chris Rogers actually wrote down, because he has the novelization. And let me see if I can find it here. I mentioned this before, but I'll remark again. Shane Black's original script was very different from the final film. It had a more darker tone with more violence, and almost the entire second half of the script was completely different. Besides many differences with the plot and characters, Shane Black's script also included more focus on two of the main villains, Milo and Marcone, Taylor Negron and Noble Willingham's characters. Milo, for example, was an even nastier villain. In the script, besides being a hitman, he was also a director of snuff films. His men would kill kidnapped women in very violent ways. Again, there's supposed to be a big boat chase scene with Joe, these two guys, trying to escape Milo and his men, chase them through the fog until their boat and helicopter crash into each other. A shootout and fight scene between Joe and the main bad guy's men in Joe's house. Another shootout in the mansion, which Joe sneaks in after killing several guards. Danger's my middle name. Mine's Cornelius. You tell anyone I kill you. In the original script, the entire third act was set on water. Also, Bruce Willis's grudge with the senator was completely different from the movie. In the script, Bruce Willis was working security for the senator's family when the guy's son kills a mother and child in a drunken car accident. When Bruce Willis refused to cover for the guy's son, they plant half a kilo of crack in the house to discredit Bruce Willis's character. That son was also a villain in the script, and in the end, both he and the father died. I guess it wasn't a senator, it was like the president, or a president. Stuart Bayard, which now that I see on the credits here, it just says Mark Goldblatt and Mark Helfrich. It does not say Stuart Bayard, but it does say it on the film in the opening credits. Stuart Baird, to heavily re-edit the movie, he had re-edited Tango and Cash, another Warner Brothers film which had problems during filming and post-production. If you watch the trailer, there's a few scenes in it that are not in the finished product. Now, of course, this is Danielle Harris from Halloween 4 and 5, the star, the little kid, Jamie. Of course, she's watching Lethal Weapon, funny enough. And Danielle Harris plays definitely a daughter with attitude. And definite wise ass. And apparently Danielle Harris said at one point this is still one of her favorite roles to have done. I guess because, as a kid she got to, like I said, have an attitude and talk differently compared to like the Halloween films and other movies. But anyway, like Chris Rogers, who requested this, he has a novelization, and this is what, and he asked me to mention this. The novelization of The Last Boy Scout plays out pretty much the same as the movie, with some differences such as slightly alternate dialogue and a few extra scenes, and some minor characters are given names. Whether the extra scenes were actually filmed or not, who knows? Here are the differences between the novel and the movie. The novelization begins the day before the big game with Billy Cole at his home watching a man on TV talking about how football was all commerce. Nothing but greedy free agents hopping from team to team with their fancy lawyers, getting busted for drugs and gambling. No team loyalty, no heroes anymore. Billy Cole, Billy Blank's character, says bullshit. He holds a .32 in his hand, contemplating what to do. He then takes a handful of pills and passes out. Before shooting himself, Billy says, "I'm going to Disneyland," instead of "Ain't life a bitch?" Again, there's a lot of players when they won the game said, "I'm going to Disneyland." Extra scene where it's revealed that someone named Henry invited Jimmy, Damon Wayans' character, to the league party. Henry is an up-and-coming player on the football team. This scene takes place just before Jimmy exits the condo and throws the football at the asshole in the hot tub. Bruce Willis's elderly neighbors are named Andy and Nadine Nadi. The novel reveals that Bruce Willis's character used to live in a 10-room colonial house in Alexandria, Virginia. How the hell would he afford that? The alley thug is named Pineapple Face. I guess the guy that Bruce Willis killed with the glass in his neck. Scrabble Man and Jake, the two people killed by the car bomb like 10 minutes ago, are instead nicknamed Abbott and Costello. So Bruce Willis killed Abbott and Costello. Extra scene where Joe and Jimmy search Abbott and Costello's vehicle for clues. They discover that it was rented under a phony name, Mahatma Gandhi. This scene takes place right after the two thugs are killed by just before the cops arrive. On the drive home, Bruce Willis tells Damon Wayans he used to be a ventriloquist. I guess leading up to when he did that thing we'll see later on. The scene where Damon Wayans uses drugs, that's coming up, is from Sarah's point of view. She watches him through half an open door. The scene where Darian asks Jimmy for his autograph takes place inside the house as Jimmy is leaving the bathroom. Joe throws him out before he has a chance to sign it. After Joe is tased by Milo, he gets dragged from the house by Chet and Pablo instead of the two nameless goons that appear in the movie. I thought this bit here actually works well with the characters, where they just chill out and relax, and interesting dialogue how, I wish I still didn't love my wife. And this thing that he kept doing Damon Wayans as Alex. Like, who the hell is Alex? Then you find out here is his kid, who, to his son. I thought, Damon Wayans played this off fairly well, because it's not over the top, it's not dramatic. Just something that happened, and the music doesn't become pretentious. Just telling the story, and nice reactions, subtle. That's the thing, it's told subtly. It's a subtle manner. I thought Damon Wayans and Bruce Willis both played it very well. And look, Bruce Willis, with his eyes, his reaction, subtle, but you really get the idea that he feels sorry for this guy. Even when he throws him out, like, he's not vinegar pissing, like piss and vinegar, it's just get out. I mean, for two guys who hated working with each other, I thought they did a pretty nice job together. And this is when Bruce Willis gave a shit. Even in this film, that reaction there, you... See, that's the thing. It's the subtle... You could act all big and all bravado, but when you can do the subtle things, that's when you're important as an actor. That's just my 2 cents. This is when Bruce Willis finds out, and you can understand why he throws him out, because he's still a cop, and this is still drugs, and his kid is still there. So, there is that fine line with him. But yeah, getting back to... After Bruce Willis is tased by Milo, he is dragged from the house by Chet and Pablo. Okay, I mentioned. The riddles Bruce Willis does with the puppet are different. Hey, what's the difference between Mr. Pablo's girlfriend and the LA Lakers? After 4 periods, the Lakers take a shower. My God. I didn't read that until now. That's fucked up. That's fucked up. That's fucked up. The pool owner is named Albert Flanagan. The pool owner. Oh, I think that's, oh my God. Can't believe I forgot his name. From The Burbs. Rick Dukeman, I believe. See, you see Bruce Willis acting like he still, feels bad for him, but he's like, you gotta go, man. You were doing the... And then Damon Wayans, he plays pissed off well. Again, this is... At this time, Damon Wayans was just doing the comedy stuff in Living Color, Mo Money. So it was nice to see him stretch out his acting a little bit. Stretch out his acting. And he was, committed to it. I wonder if that was an ADR line. It doesn't sound like it, but because it's on Bruce Willis's face, it's like, let's mention Billy Cole, since that happened at the beginning, and make it seem as if it's connected a bit more. So make Damon Wayans mention Billy Cole's name there. Maybe not, I don't know. Like I said, if this was re-edited, apparently by Stuart Bayard, I would love to see the word print. If it's out there. But like I said, I'm a sucker for word prints. Not every word print, but just if it's a film I really like Cliffhanger, Hard Target, watching these word prints, because you see like extra scenes, extra bits of dialogue, or even just like what music do they use during word prints. For example, the word print, The Hard Target, you would hear music from Aliens, you would hear music from The Hunt for Red October, you would hear music from Rambo. And then in Cliffhanger, the work print, you would hear music from a little bit from The Fly, a lot from Predator, maybe a little bit from Die Hard, a little bit from Hunt for Red October. Like if you watch the trailer to Demolition Man, the trailer, that's music from the Hunt for Red October, and that was used in a lot of work prints around this day. And it was using the work print to this when Van Damme, the female detective, is shot and he gets her gun and shoots. And I think also when Van Damme and Nancy Butler, they jump onto the train down below. Ooh, nice stunt. $50 stunt. They definitely didn't make sure he was dead. Jeez, he's alive and dandy. Yeah, welcome to another episode of Jackass. I don't even know how long it's... Yeah, about an hour. So 45 minutes left, and then yeah, I think there's like 5 minutes or so for the end credits. So there you go. But again, back in the day when you had these type of movies where you didn't artificially create the look of the film with filters, so then it just, you almost feel the fakeness and phoniness of it. Or it looks too shiny, or it looks too clear, or it looks more clear than real life. Like, real life doesn't look as clear as this. I don't think it really does. Like, I don't think we in our eyes see as clearly as it is in a movie, and I think that's why a lot of movies have this weird look to them, where they're so HD. Like, our eyes are not HD. Think about it, from the day we're born, our eyes are getting more and more used with, pollen. We're watching screens, TV screens. It gets affected every once in a while. Sometimes we need glasses, sometimes we don't. But your eyes are not as pristine as they are when you're born. It's like anything. The more it gets used, the more it breaks down. Some it breaks down longer than others. Or faster than others, I should say. Or quicker. So even we don't see in HD. So to see movies in HD, it's like, there's almost a phoniness to them. I'm not saying every film like that is awful, not in the slightest, but it's just, I miss films back to the day when they shot, whether it be 35 millimeter, whether it be, I'm not sure what again, the natural lighting, if you had color correcting, it's more subtle than it is here. Of course, this is when they tased Bruce Willis. Remember that license plate. Oh yeah, this is the one cop. Yes, there's too many bullets in this gun. There's too many bullets in this gun. Taylor Negron, that's that guy there. Sally, he's no longer with us, but he has a very fun personality in this movie. Almost like a whimsical, loving nature of being bad and being evil. Like, he just loves being that character. Yeah, this is like a Secret Service. Is that, yeah, Jimmy Carter, right? That really does look like Jimmy Carter. Yeah, Bruce Willis got shot, and when he used to be a hero, he used to be a somebody. And you can tell the character that does hate himself and where he's at. Part of his cynicism, that back then he did the right thing. And by doing the right thing, he got punished for it. Now this guy is, I believe his name is Tim Coates. He's been in a lot of stuff, Tim Coates. He's a guy this other guy has as well. I cannot remember his name, but I think the other guy, not this guy who's going to get killed, I think the other guy is in The Happening. I think he's the guy who loves his hot dogs in The Happening. I believe that's him, the hot dog guy. But this other guy, Tim Coates, he was in one of the Resident Evil sequels, and I mean, he's worked a lot of stuff, and good character actor. And this is like one of my favorite scenes. He gets his, this guy gets his comeuppance. You touch me again, I'll kill you. Where he hits it, shoves the bone right. I think that's the first time I've ever seen someone do that in a movie. I'm not saying that's the first time it's happened. I'm saying that's the first time I've ever seen someone do that in a movie. Do that maneuver to shove the bone back into the guy's brain. Like, anytime I see it, I touch my nose. Like, yeah. I'm just doing it already. Just, I think it's like the sound effect and how quick it is, and like Tim Coates does a good job flopping over. Here we go. Big mistake, man. How you tin? How you tin? There you go. Told you. That's pretty badass. Come on, that was pretty badass. Damn, that's two ceiling fans. No, three ceiling fans in this place. At least. Yeah, but yeah, this other guy, I believe, is the hot dog guy in The Happening. If you don't remember that good, don't remember that movie. But again, that cynical, fun sense of humor. You're the bad guy, right? I'm supposed to be fearful. Okay, I'll tremble in fear in a minute. You know, just can I get a drink first? Again, everywhere he goes, this guy gets his beaten up, but you're still showcasing he's a badass. That fucking oh, you can like fine, you can beat me up, but I'm gonna pull in your ass quicker than you want to realize it. Ooh, shit. Touch me again, I'll kill you. Ultimately, he does. Which I do think it works better here. If in the original script it was his wife who just shot him, I would prefer... I like the way it's done here better. But from what I understand, the reason the wife shot Milo in the original script was because the wife was kidnapped. It was going to be part of a snuff film where they're going to kill her with a chainsaw, and then she kills Milo in revenge for that. Now, yeah, this is on a Blu-ray with the second film, Last Man Standing. Another good Bruce Willis movie. That one directed by Walter Hill. And Bruce Willis in the 90s, up until... he would have hits, and I think in the 90s he has a pretty fair track record, at least for me. Because like I said, Die Hard 2, 1990 started with a bang. This one, I think, is a damn good movie. I like Hudson Hawk. Not everyone's cup of tea, but I like it. I think it's a fun cartoon, live-action cartoon type of thing. But, you know, I like Die Hard with a Vengeance. I think it's one of the best Die Hard films. You know, I like Last Man Standing. I love The Fifth Element. I like Pulp Fiction. But I'm just saying, box office wise, it seemed like either other than Pulp Fiction, it seemed like the only hits Bruce was having truly was the Die Hard pictures. Because I like Mercury Rising, but Mercury Rising did not do well. I like Last Man Standing, but Last Man Standing did not do well. Like I said, this was considered, I mean, not a flop, but a disappointment because of all the team, the actors, directors, producers involved. They expected to be like $100 million hit. It's kind of like The Golden Child with Eddie Murphy. That's a hit. It made $80 million. It's just they expected more because Beverly Hills Cop made this much money. And then even afterward, Beverly Hills Cop 2 made this much money. But Golden Child only made this. Same with Sylvester Stallone's Cobra. It did make money, but a lot less than it was supposed to. So either you had box office disappointments or just outright flops. Up until, other than Pulp Fiction and Die Hard films, up until I would say The Sixth Sense in 1999. And then you had Unbreakable, you had The Whole Nine Yards, which I do enjoy. That was a surprise hit. And I don't know where I was going with that. But yeah, Bruce Willis, there's a lot of films of his track record I do enjoy. Even back to before all this, Blind Date was a pretty decently fun comedy. Die Hard is a classic. The first 4 Die Hard films I enjoy, like I mentioned. Fifth Element I saw in the theater. But nowadays, he's going the Steven Seagal route where either, again, something physical, emotional, psychological is wrong with him. If that's the case, he needs, serious, no joke to his side, needs to seek help. Or he's being lazy, greedy, and just taking whatever job he can. He shoot everybody and smoke some cigarettes. And yeah, this wasn't too long for Danielle Harris, because Halloween 4 was 1988, and then Halloween 5 was 89. So this was 2 years later after that. So it's one of those things I always forget, yeah, Danielle Harris is in this. I believe I saw her first in this, because I didn't see the Halloween films until a bit later in life. I don't think I watched the Halloween films as a kid. Maybe Halloween 2. And it was years and years later before I saw the other ones. But I did see this. Because I think as a kid, the genre I watched the most. And, sometimes when people ask, well, what's your favorite genre? Sometimes I would say horror. But truly it's action. Action genre is my favorite genre. It's truly my favorite number one genre I'd go to. Because I like this escapism of fights and car chases, explosions, martial arts, fisticuffs, blood squibs. These were the superheroes of our time. These were the comic book heroes of our time. Some darker than others, some grander than others, some over the top than others. The Commandos, the Rambos, and the Die Hards. Not the same, different, but still. That's probably why I enjoy films like the John Wick films and Nobody, because they are the closest that come to this era. They're not exactly like this era of films, but they're the closest that comes to it. And it just, a lot of people, not all, but a lot of people, they look at these films and they either look at them as cheesy, corny, laughable, they won't work anymore, or they just don't know what the hell they're talking about. Like, that CGI is bad. It's not a CGI effect. Well, yeah. And I do believe there are a lot of younger people that have not seen these films. Because you think about it, back in the day of the VHS era, where there was no internet. I mean, internet came about in the 90s, but did not really come into play in the mainstream until, I would say, the late 90s. Well, I know our school didn't really get internet until the late 90s. I'm not saying people were using the internet before. I mean, hell, you had the net with Sandra Bullock. But in 91, that wasn't that much of a thing. My point is that when you take away the internet, you take away a lot of stuff that people take for granted. That nowadays you can watch, believe me, there's a way you can watch any movie, any TV show, almost anything at the tip of your fingertips. If you have the right internet, you go to the right places. Back then, you didn't have that. You had a couple channels on TV, or you went to the video store. So then when you went to the video store, you would go seek out almost every film if you went on a weekly basis or even twice a month. You rent movies. What came out that month? So each month, what came out? Let me check this out, check this out. You kept up to date. That's not the case anymore. There are people that just watch YouTube every day and never watch a film. It's just, different time spans. I want to make you scream, play rap music. I get it's this. Yeah, when people say this is just another John McClane, I disagree. This is more of a cynical. Like even John McClane back in this day, he would say these lines with almost a glimmer, a smirk in his eye. Here, it's like a character who's beaten down, doesn't care a whole lot about in life, and just almost kind of settled in his dirt nap, so to speak. Sorry, if you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm kind of sitting there and I'm imagining just how weird this scene is when you explain it to someone. Like in an action film, this girl is going to give this puppet to your hero, and this puppet happens to be having a fucking gun in it, and your hero is doing a ventriloquist routine that's going to result in shooting people in the fucking head. That's pretty damn unique. That's not something you see every day. Ooh, nice headshot. Ooh, nice shotgun shot. Nice bits of slow motion. And look, Zack Snyder, Tony Scott doesn't abuse the slow-mo like you fucking do in every one of your fucking movies. Well, Matt, yeah, John Woo knows how to use it well. Zack Snyder maybe needs to take some pointers from John Woo on how to use it. Yeah, this uses it a lot, but it looks cooler when John Woo does it. Maybe because a lot of it's done practical, bloody, down and dirty. I was mentioned before, I wonder if the MPA had cut some stuff down for this, because where slasher films, horror films, with action films, they would just really hunker down on movies in this like late 80s, early 90s time period. Like this film got an NC-17, which was BS. If you saw all of it, nothing in it was NC-17 material. Same with Cliffhanger. You watch the NC-17 word print, nothing in that is NC-17. If it was released today, they would not bat an eye. I mean, there's films that did it, and they're 10 times bloodier. I mean, Rambo 4 is a much bloodier film, and I got an R rating. Car chase smash into every damn thing. This is why you don't drive off a fucking cliff. I mean, you bounce off a fucking house, you land in a fucking pool. Yeah, something you see every day in an action film. And this guy by the pool is Rick Dukeman. Sadly, he has passed away. He was in The Burbs. He was Tom Hanks' buddy in The Burbs. He's the one who's like, Ray, you're chanting, I want to kill everyone. Satan is good. Satan's our pal. Rick Dukeman was also in a tiny bit part in Gremlins 2. But he probably got in this because he had worked with Joel Silver and Bruce Willis in Die Hard. Maybe you knew producer Joel Silver, because Die Hard, Rick Dukeman was the guy in the sewer system that had to turn off the power, and Robert Davi's like, you turn off the power or you lose your job. Then Rick Dukeman's like, hey, I need this sector shut down. Now, this was kind of a dumb decision. I would not have left the girl there. You could have easily driven off and left her like, somewhere else. Or at least make 100% sure that the bad guys are dead, instead of just shooting at a car and a pool. So I will say this is a dumb decision by the characters. Fairly dumb decision. Again, you could go into the pool, open up the door, and then shoot ba 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 ba, or notice that someone is missing. I mean, well, it was on fire, but it's fucking in the pool. Splash it with water, get the fire out, and see if there's anyone in there. I wonder if someone saw this and thought of bits of an idea for Die Hard with a Vengeance. Because this stuff here does seem like a nice predecessor to Die Hard with a Vengeance with Bruce Willis. Why does he spell bomb wrong? There's a B at the end. Well, I don't really get why you would not spell bomb correctly. But I guess because the Joe bomb, B-O-M, it means fuck you in Polish. So that's, I guess, why. But I think one of the lines Damon Wayans says here is, if we go any faster, we'll go back in time. That line was in the video game Die Hard Trilogy, in the Die Hard with a Vengeance section, where you're driving, you have to knock into bombs. And one of the lines that the Sam Jackson character says is, we travel any faster, we'll go back in time. So that's for me. I do wonder, like, this stuff when Bruce Willis and Sam Jackson are driving in a taxi cab and they're banter with each other. This does seem like a predecessor to that. And again, the first Die Hard's my favorite, but Die Hard with a Vengeance is pretty damn close. I believe I saw that in the theater. I saw Die Hard with a Vengeance in the theater. I'm trying to think what Bruce Willis films I saw in the theater. Die Hard with a Vengeance, because that came out around my birthday. I saw The Fifth Element in the theater. Live Free, Die Hard, A Good Day to Die Hard. I have a feeling Bruce Willis shot that guy more times because it seems like he's got more bullets. So I have a feeling there was more shots and they had to cut a little bit down for the MPAA. Because it did seem like the guy, when he fell down, he had few more bullets in him. But at least you get to see a little bit of the squibs, but the MPA were being assholes. I'll say before, if anyone has the work print of this, send me a link. I'll love to give it a look. Even if it's not the best quality, I'm fine with it. That really doesn't bother me a whole lot. I made a fan cut of Cliffhanger where someone made a word print like collaboration, and then I did my own tweets just for my own shits and giggles, and it was kind of cool to see like an uncut version of Cliffhanger that way. Yeah, the footage may be shoddy, but yeah, it doesn't really bother me as much as nowadays. I'm more open to it because I don't need every fucking thing in HD. Yeah, some movies would be nice to see. Like I keep mentioning these films. You know, Watchers 1 and 2. It'd be nice to see a Blu-ray of this. But, you know. At least just for... What's the word I'm looking for? I'll think of it later. Yeah, now it's bothering me what the word I'm thinking of. Not for completion's sake, but for... You know, keep these films in the library so they don't disappear forever. You know, even if it's a low-budget film. Because that's the fear, is that these films are only on VHS. They could disappear forever. And it's nice if they get like a nice coat of paint or HD quality, and then they'll last, you know, a few more years or another 20 years. Like the Blu-ray of here looks fine to me. Doesn't look too bad at all. How you like to get kicked off the fucking planet? Interesting that that hallway had these little light bulbs, colored light bulbs in there. That's like an interesting idea to have a little bit of light in that tunnel. But, you know, to have something a little bit more unique, so have these colored light bulbs. I guess it's supposed to take place around Christmas because Satan Claus is Shane Black, so I wouldn't be surprised if it takes place around Christmas. But yeah, I mean, if the original script had more action scenes, of course I'd be down for it. But yeah, I like the movie that we have. I don't think it's as bad as the fucking reception has been. Although I think it has a decent rating on IMDb, so it seems like I'm not the only one that enjoys the film. Why is it that so many of these bad guys have, like, fish tanks? Like, they just love the fucking fish tanks. Or they have, like, sharks that they feed people in, or they just love them for some fucking reason. I'm trying to remember what Damon Wayans did after this. Because I know for a few years he was on that TV show My Wife and Kids. And then he did a little bit of that Lethal Weapon TV show. Blank Man. He was in that film Blank Man. But it seemed like for a while he kind of just disappeared. Maybe just, you know, wanted to do his own thing. I guess really Damon Wayans, if you think about it, never really caught on big as a movie star. Which is too bad, because I think he had the talent for it. Easily had the talent for it. You watch this film and In Living Color. And then, you know, a few years, not even a few years, I mean, ooh. Man, that's his jerk-off hand. That's not fair. That's not right. If he's right-handed, I mean, how's he doing jerk off now? You don't want to jerk off with the hand you don't use. It's not fun. Maybe you should suck my dick, noble Willingham. But, I was saying like a year or two later, you had Wesley Snipes in Passenger 57. Which is a film that grew on me. I mean, I remember when I first saw it, I went, it's alright. But we'll watch it a few more times. I'm like, yeah, it's a pretty decent film, Passenger 57. White Man Can't Jump, and like Wesley Snipes had a bit more of a career than Damon Wayans. I didn't like he look at Wesley Snipes. He had New Jack City, White Man Can't Jump, Demolition Man, like very different roles. Like Passenger 57 and Demolition Man and New Jack City and White Man Can't Jump, 4 fairly different movies and different roles for Wesley. And they led in getting Blade, and they did the Art of War, and sadly he fucked himself up because of his ego, also his tax problem. But yeah, Damon Wayans never really caught on. And at least it's interesting that Keenan Ivory Wayans seemed to be the guy that tried to go more towards the action route. Just like I said, he directed and starred in A Low Down Dirty Shame, Most Wanted, The Glimmer Man. I think all those were after this. And all 3 I enjoy. And none of them did well, so. And it's funny, like, Keenan Ivory Wayans worked with Damon Wayans on I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, but wasn't any of the Scary Movie or Scary Movie 2 or any of that stuff. What was that, Little Man, that bullshit, White Chicks. I just, like Damon Wayans said, I'm not dealing with this shit. You guys, Sean, Marlon, Keenan, you do your thing. I'll be over here. I did. It made me think, like, is there something more to it? Probably not. The ones I shred. Nice stunt. Yeah, some shotgun fun. Nicely done. Shotgun a guy right into the fucking TV. Good stunt, being on fire. That's not the easiest fucking thing to do. Ooh. Blowing a guy's fucking kneecaps out. Let each guy get their own moment to shine. Same with the end here, where Damon Wayans has the hurt hand and he makes the great football throw to save the piece of shit senator. And then Bruce Willis did Milo. Of course, this guy gets his comeuppance from his greed. His greed ends up killing him. See, if he wasn't greedy, he'd still be alive. But no. He had to be too greedy. Gets his comeuppance. Hey, I saw that. I saw a Pepsi. Pepis. Is it the evil Pepsi? No, that's Diet Pepsi. That's the evil Pepsi. For all 3 of you that remember my old commentary with my friends Efrey and Mike, where the first commentary we ever did together, the first commentary I ever did for a film was this fucking awful film called The Outing. And by the end, it's like a girl gets scared, and it's like a Diet Pepsi truck or something. It's like, oh, there's the evil Pepsi. There's the evil Pepsi. And we got Bruce Willis character being a dad. Again, you see Bruce Willis acting, and he cares. He's within the scene. He's not just throwing his lines out. Hey, you go over there. I gotta go over here. Okay. I guess I'll do this. You watch the trailers for his films nowadays. Like, he's got, again, 2 films coming out. One's like with Jamie Teen. The other, I don't even fucking. I think with Megan Fox. He could give 2 shits. Maybe it's like he just get too old for this shit. I don't know what it is. But it's a shame because these guys have talent, and just like there's a lot of other people with talent, and the reason they're not working is because they don't get the opportunities. These other guys, they're getting the opportunities and they're just wasting it on these know-nothing bullshit movies. That, hey, I'm going to be here for 5 days and I get a paycheck, I'll do it. And like, you think about like the direction, like all of these people, you have to get together, you gotta get the crowd in there, you gotta get them riled up and going. There was some bit of trivia that at one point something was happening with the crowd, like they were not going to pay the crowd that they said they would, and there was almost a fucking riot. I don't know if there was this scene, I'm just assuming because this is where the biggest crowd would be. That's a great shot. That was there a bit previously. I think that was for it wasn't for the trailer, but that was definitely a trailer moment when Damon Wayans threw the football. I thought that was a nice bit in the trailer where the football goes. It's like Bruce Willis, Damon Wayans. I like the trailer. I think the trailer is pretty decent for this. Like, this is a good stunt with the wire mesh hanging there. Nice bit of slow-mo to showcase, you know, all the spars going from hitting the fucking spotlight and just the height of it. Oh, look, you got a real helicopter. Seeing the real scope of all this. Again, the lighting works fairly well. I like that bit that you actually see there's other guys there, which there would be. In the background, you saw like other cops. I guess they're like, hey, these guys are fighting. Let's see what happens next. Like, it's like, where it's obvious this guy is... yeah, shoots the shit. He punches the shit out of him, shoots the shit out of... Here we go, right to the helicopter blades. Ooh. Like, you see enough of the body getting cut to pieces, you go, oh, fuck. That's a pretty good death scene. And what did Bruce Willis promise? He would dance the jig. What's the jig? Again, how many action films do you have where your hero fulfills his promise to do a fucking dance after this? Yeah, this film did not deserve the bad rep that it got when it came out. For a movie that went through so much trouble, for a movie that went through so much chaos, for a film that went so much headache, that apparently so many people hated working on the film, they hated working with each other, ego. This turned out to be a pretty damn good movie in turnout. That I don't see and feel all the problems, unlike, say, Cutthroat Island, or even though I don't hate the film, I can still see with Fantastic Four that came out a few years ago, you know, and other movies of that nature. I don't see it, I don't feel it with this movie. It's like Tango and Cash. And I think this is a movie that deserves a lot more. You know how some people always put Point Break on a pedestal for that fun 90s action film? In my opinion, this film deserves that much more than Point Break. I'm sorry, I could never get into Point Break. I never understood the big appeal of Point Break. Maybe because I don't give a shit about surfing. Maybe because I like Keanu Reeves, but I think that's one of his weaker performances. But I'll go with Speed, I'll go with Constantine, I'll go with the John Wick films. Not Point Break. Like when Hot Fuzz, Simon Pegg, Nick Frost referenced a 90s film, it should not have been Point Break. It should have been this movie. I mean, that's just my opinion. And again, this goes back to that term of endearment in the weirdest way possible. Fuck you, Sarah. Again, what other movie would do this? Yeah, fuck you, Sarah. If no one was around, I'd spit in your face. You're a lime bitch. But it's meant for fucking endearment. Again, that's unique, that's fun, it's original, and you know what? It works. It worked in this flick, in this movie. Now, Bruce Willis told this guy, oh, the briefcase I was telling you about. But if Bruce Willis told him about the briefcase, he would have said it was a bomb. And if it was a bomb, then why would the cop open it? I mean, if he said, hey, tell me about that briefcase you told me about. Where is it? Or no, he said, that briefcase you're telling me about, where is it? Oh, it's over there. And then the cop gets and opens up, but wouldn't Bruce Willis have told him it was a bomb? So why would the cop open it up? It's like he only opened up because he knows, despite what Bruce Willis you would think would have told him, oh yeah, there's money in this. So I don't know, just... It's like the cop, oh, he told me this was a bomb, but I'm going to blow myself up. Oh, lucky me, it's a case full of money. This is not that big of a deal. And finally, the wife is sticking up for the husband. And you see he's a bit more cleaned up. He's a bit better dressed. He's a little bit shaven. And there you go. This being the 90s, you can't just walk up to a guy and smack him in the face. You gotta say something cool first. You hit him with a surfboard, you say, yeah, okay, something like that. See, that's a meta type of thing, which I think the guys from Doom 2016 is talking about. He's out there, he's getting stronger, Satan Claus. So what do we do about that? Be prepared, son. That's my motto. Be prepared. Chelsea Field as Sarah, the wife. Didn't mention her name. She did a good job. Billy Blanks is Billy Cole. Locker Room Kid, Morris Chestnut. The Locker Room Kid is Morris Chestnut, really. The same Morris Chestnut that would work with Steven Seagal, I guess, in Under Siege 2 and then Half Past Dead. And Morris Chestnut has been in other stuff too. Wow, I didn't know that was Morris Chestnut. Rick Dukeman, may he rest in peace. Same with Taylor Negron. And same with Tony Scott. Sorry, I looked at the credits, see if any other names pop up. Nice job by the stunt. Chuck Zito apparently was one of the stunt guys. George Wilbur, Halloween 4 connection. He played Michael Myers in Halloween 4. George P. Wilbur, says there. But yeah, I mean, The Last Boy Scout, like I said, it's a cynical, fun, smarter than people give credit for, edgy, entertaining, fun action film. I think Damon Wayans and Bruce Willis, considering they hated each other, they worked fairly well together. Tony Scott had a great slick, stylish look to his films with this, Beverly Hills Cop 2, Top Gun, and so forth. The action scenes work. They're not too grandiose, granted, like a Die Hard film, but for what, they're more than fine. They had that, again, that edge, blood squibs, nastiness, headshots to the face. I didn't want your bad guys being obliterated by fucking helicopter blades. Come on, that's pretty cool. And yeah, I don't really have many problems with the film. Like I said, it'd be interesting to see if they had shot some of the stuff in the original script. I don't think they did, but it would be nice to see what that version of the film would have been. But I like the film that we got. I like the film that was released. And like I said, I don't think it deserves... With all this negative energy... Sound like a hippie. I sound like the dude from the Big Lebowski. All these negative waves about the making of the film, the product came out rather underrated. I think deserves a bit more love, a bit more spotlight, and I think stands up there as one of Bruce's best movies. I really do. I truly do. So, with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.